have a quick chat. Once again, I'm John C. Kings, I'm 57. I'd like to think I'm a sort of intermediate runner. I've been running since probably I was about 40, but more recently it's been mainly summer running. This has meant that a lot of time when I've been running with the target of not getting ill, not starting to come down with a cold. And during winter, I have this unerring ability to have a cold as soon as I start running. I've got one now. However, I have been running. I've dropped the pace a lot now because since the Gosport half marathon, it sort of taught me that the body's telling me now that it needs to be treated in a different way, and we need to look at things with a slightly different aspect. And part of that has been to try and understand the body and how my body changes in regards to lack of energy, in regards to particularly the energy resources going down, and how quick it can burn energy to replace the lost energy. So oxygen levels, energy levels, and things like that are quite important in trying to understand what's happening and why it's happening. And do we need to slow down? Do we need to slow the pace down at certain points, i.e., let's try a few hills. Let's see if the hills make any difference to the oxygen levels. Let's see if we can try and bottom out where my particular muscular skeletal body actually peaks at, if you like. It's quite difficult without anything telling you what. Well, it's quite difficult without something telling you more than just what your pace is as you go around a training route, or indeed a half marathon. What I needed was something that was going to give me a little bit more oomph and a little bit more data to analyze and have a look at and say, well, actually, you could have done better there. You could have done slow. You should have gone slower there. And I think I looked at the different watches out there, and it's an absolute nightmare because the cost of them is so much, and you're thinking, at my age, am I really going to get something out of it? The wife always says, you don't need a watch to tell you how to run. You just put one foot in front of the other. Yeah, great. But no, to be honest, she's right. Everybody knows how to run, one foot in front of the other. And as long as you do that, your muscles will hopefully not decay when you get older quite as quickly as the people who just do the sofa sitting. But I wanted to see whether it really made a difference having a watch, and I looked at the Garmin 55. I looked at a couple of the other makes and brands, and I thought, no, I'm going to stay with Garmin. I think they've got a better team of software engineers behind them. The price, you are paying for the name, yeah, but overall there were certain aspects and certain things included in the Garmin watches that weren't in the total package for other watches. So I remember thinking, okay, we can throw out the 955. There's no hope in God's earth that I'm going to gain sort of anything from a 500, 600 pound 955 than I am from a 255 or a 55. So I looked at I did look at some of the Fenix, and I'm thinking, well, I'm paying for things that I don't use because I'm a runner. I'm not a swimmer, I'm not a cyclist, I'm not a hiker. So I looked at it, I thought, well, I'm going to try and reduce it to the Forerunner. And I reduced it to the Forerunner, and I sort of sat there and I thought, this is more me. It's more blood oxygen, it's more heart rate variability, and it's more the physical signs that you need to do. And I thought, well, what do I want from it? And I've already said I wanted something that I could analyse the data after. I want to go running and analyse the data at certain points during the run. I want to look at that hill, see what my oxygen level does. I want to look at the hill and see what my pace does. Did I overstretch the pace and that's why my oxygen levels dropped because my energy levels were being battered? Or try and understand what's happening in different types of terrain during the training, because I'm quite analytical. I'm very analytical, in fact. And I thought, you can get the 55 and it's got all the functions in it that you need, but it fails mainly on the fact that it doesn't give you the analyses or the trending during the run as the 255 does. And okay, the 955 allows you to look at that trend, and you can actually pull along the screen and actually select a point during the race, and it will give you the data from in the middle of the race from the trend graph. You can't do that on the 255, but it will show you the trend during the run, during the training, and you can get a rough idea of whether you're a piece of data is going downhill, uphill, or whatever. And it was sort of like a case of, do you get a 255 almost purely because you've got this ability to get that trend information? Certainly over above the 955, because you're not. I can't see that a person of my age is gonna. I might gain a few seconds. I might go from the 2 hour 6 minute half marathon to a 2 hour 2 minute half marathon. Is that worth forking out 500, 600 quid on a watch that's going to last me hopefully into my 60s? Probably not. Not for the amount of improvement, because after a while I'm almost certainly going to start leveling off, and it's going to be the watch's aid to help me not go downhill quite so quick. And I sort of thought, well, the 955 is obviously out. You're not going to be spending that amount of money and suddenly coming out with I can improve by this, and this. And I looked at 255 and thought, we can get the trending, we can get all the sensors are there that I need. And the 55 has all the sensors, but it doesn't have the race app. And you're thinking, that's actually quite handy. I like the fact that it can suggest, the 255 suggests what training could benefit you. But not only that, it's actually being a bit sly. It's suggesting training that will help it analyze the data and give you appropriate information back. So it might tell you to do strength training, the speed training, but purely so that it can work out your maximum VO2. And so it's been a little bit clever. So it's a little bit more clever. It's got more data flying around trend wise. I chose that one. So I've just ordered the 255. It's just gone down to Garmin have just dropped it by 50 quid. I would, if you're looking at the music version of the 255, I would actually look at the Sigma Sports. If you're a first time buyer from there, you get £25 off everything. Not like all of the other sites. If you go on there and they say they've got 10% off, 15% off, including millets and blacks, it says excluding Garmin, excluding electronics. With Sigma, it isn't. It's everything. And I tried it the other day. 304 for a music one came down to like 275, which is actually pretty good. if you're going to use music. And that's the other point. I do use music. Actually helps me immensely, but whether I'd really gain from it in the long run, over and above having, because I'll probably always have the phone with me anyway, and I just sort of thought I can just as easy Bluetooth the phone music to the headset as anything else, because I always have the running the bum bag, if you like, around the waist with gels in, and I kind of throw the phone in there as a second thought. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set off in the new year with a new watch and a new pace and training regime. Will I follow the watch? I will certainly try and follow it a little bit, because like I said, it's the more you follow it, the more it's going to give you the data it wants to give you. Because otherwise all you're going to get is skewed data, because you insist on doing 6 to 12 mile runs and you don't like doing the sprints, so you don't do them. So you have to follow it a bit. I'm going to follow it a little bit. I'm going to try and analyse the data from last year, analyse the data as I go into next year, hopefully get into the Gosport Half Marathon again, try and do a couple of others perhaps along the way. And we're going to see whether this idea of a running watch really works. Now, you'll remember I started training last year in June. So, early May, then I became ill and got a setback of a month. So it really started in June. So I shouldn't be improving from the data I've got from August, September, October, November, because my body at that point was well trained. So if I improve, which I'm hoping I'll improve by literally seconds, then I hope that's a point that we can sort of look at and think, actually, guys, age doesn't come into it when we're saying, do we buy a watch? Will we gain from a running watch or not? I think realistically, you've got to think, will I, or you as the case may be, gain from having a running watch? And I think if I can run and even stay in the same ballpark for 12 months, 2 years, I think that's proving that it certainly is helping, because had I just carried on running it was an NRC app. If I carried on running to the NRC app, I would almost certainly just gently go downhill at the same sort of rate due to age, and I think that's what I'm looking at. So can we actually prove that the watch does give you a little bit extra oomph? Can I use the training suggestions? Can I use the data on it and improve, and actually say, hey, it was because of either the data or the training, or both? If I can, and if it works, then on this wrist, I won't have that watch that's swiveling around. It will be a case of a 255 trainer will aid me through next year, and we'll see what happens. I think age is a very, very funny thing, isn't it? Because I don't know how many of you have thought about it, but the graphs that I've seen on YouTube, especially, showing that as you get from 40 to 65, your muscles tend to deplete on average, and you can see how people who actually train during that period have the most to gain, because they really don't lose as much muscle mass as what people who sofa sit lose. And I'm hoping that I've managed to just about stay on top of it, not lose too much in a way of muscle mass. Certainly, I don't think I'm not really degraded too much. I think when I look at the less leg muscles and the arm muscles, perhaps more on the upper body, I would say, than the lower body. So I need to probably do a little bit more upper body training, and a little bit more non-running training, if you like. So I'll probably be adding a little bit of that, recording that on the watch as well, and we'll see what happens. But I think when you sort of getting to our age, you sort of look at that wastage and you think, it's so easy to see your times go down, and you start, do we carry on running? Hell yeah, why not? I mean, if you can run and you can actually stop or halt that degeneration for just a small amount of time, you're increasing your I think you're increasing your quality of life for a while. So your quality of life over a certain period will increase for a little bit longer. I'm stopping short of saying it increases the length of your life, because the number of runners that die of a heart attack on the for trying too hard is phenomenally is actually quite large, really, considering a lot of people say, oh God, no, running, it's bad for you, and it can be. And that's another thing about the watch. You see, you can set that heart rate indicator, and it'll tell you, hey, slow down. You're peaking a little bit too much here, and it can tell you to slow down, and you can have a look at your oxygen levels. I need to slow down a bit. Just get that, let the body regenerate a bit. I've even thought about the run, walk, run. I'll be very, very interested if anybody has any run, walk, run thoughts. Please put it in the comment. I'm actually really interested in this. I don't know if it works or not. I've seen a few people do it. I remember being in a 10k run up in Rotherham. It was at a reservoir in Rotherham. Rother Valley Country Park, and there was a guy there the last time I ran that, and he kept passing me, and then he'd stop and have a walk, and then he'd pass me again. At the time, he was about my age as well, and he actually eventually just soared past me, and I must have been about 39, 42 at the time, and this guy just run, walk, and he eventually must have finished. He passed me on the last half of the second lap, so he probably finished a good few minutes ahead of me, and he's been walking some of it. So I'd be very interested in what you think to that, because I've seen it on the on YouTube, and it's like, oh, does run, walk, run work? Has anybody tried it? I've not tried it. I've gone out and done training runs and had a complete stop, to let the body regenerate, have a gel or have a sip of water, and let the muscles relax. But I've never really thought about doing it in race conditions. And to be honest, and the last time I did extensive training in that manner wasn't too long ago, and I ended up doing a 100-minute half marathon without stopping. And yet the training for it had been almost 2 miles, half a minute stop, 2 miles, half a minute stop. So the stopping in the training didn't make much difference to the final run. even though I wasn't stopping. So it would be interesting to see if anybody can out there can sort of shed some light on their experience on it. I think it'll be quite interesting. So happy New Year. I'm hoping that that we get a few people on here, especially the older generation. I am trying to aim it at the senior end, but I want people to use it as a sort of forum for discussion about the senior ones among us. And by senior, I'm sort of taking it in the same category as the UK running club would do, which is 40 plus. So anybody above 40 plus, please do subscribe. Please have a quick comment on what your experiences are as a senior runner. Younger ones, hey, if you want to give us some of your experiences, please do. But you're on the up, we're on the down, we're on the other side of the hill. So and for us, it's about trying to keep that hill from being too steep. Let's try and work together. Let's see if we can make that hill a little bit less steep on the other side. Let's see if we can stop that slope. I don't expect anything drastic. I don't expect to be increasing the speed, increasing the pace. I don't expect to be suddenly finishing a half marathon in 1 hour 45 again, like I used to, or 1 hour 100 minutes like I did a few years ago. But hell, I can hope that I can stick that 2 hour half marathon time and possibly just about scrape a 2 hour 1 hour 98. That'd be good, wouldn't it? 1 hour 58 to 2 hour 2 sort of gap. I'd like to think I could do that, but that would be only doable if I could actually take what I have in the way of muscle and energy, power, and use the best out of it. And that's what I'm hoping to get. Best out of what I've got, and then let's see whether we can really enter the new year with a new drive. And I just don't want to be running for the sake of times, because at the end of the day, I know the times are going to get worse steadily. I just don't want them to get worse. I want the slope to be less steep, please. So I'm hoping that I can reduce the steepness of that slope, and we can start to just enjoy life a little bit more, but not worry about those times. Because I think going up to sort of when you're sort of 35, 45, you're sort of looking at it and thinking, I can improve. And as soon as I got those days where you didn't do very well, especially if you got 4 or 5 in a row, you think, and I'd stop running. And I'd just make an excuse for it. Well, winter's coming, and I always get ill in winter, so I'm going to stop. I might start again in January, February. And I don't want to be doing that. Having time off isn't that great an idea, because you've got to regenerate that sort of will to get out there. And the muscles have started to sort of ease off a little. So you really need to keep it going, and I don't want to be getting disheartened. And I think I just have to use the age thing and say, look, if we go downhill, we're going downhill. Just keep going and don't give in. I'm hoping that we can have some good discussions on here, to be honest, and I'm hoping we get at least 1 or 2 people looking at this and thinking, I can see where he's coming from. You might agree with me, comment down below. You might disagree with me, comment down below. I don't mind at all. In fact, constructive criticism, throw it. And I'm going to try and be on a little bit more often. I said that the last time. There's a couple of reasons why I'm doing these, and one of them is that my job requires me to be a little bit more able to provide these sort of chats and communicate with people online. So hopefully you can come forward and you can start to join in. If you subscribe and get the notifications, then hopefully we can carry on and do well. Personally, it's going to be a tough battle, especially with the breathing. I had meningitis when I was 40, and it shot my lungs. Consequently, my oxygen levels tend to take a bit of a battering, especially when I've got a cold, because they got totally shot by meningitis. So please do say what you think down below. I really am open to everything. If you want to be scathing, then do. I don't mind. I'll be listening to people's comments, even good, bad, or ugly. We have to learn from everybody's comments, I think. And if your comments are valid, I'll take them on board. If they're not, I'll just ignore them. Fine, simple as that, isn't it? So hopefully somebody does answer and somebody does join in, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. I'm sort of settled at about 9.5 minutes now, so I'm sort of telling you all where I am at the minute. I'm sort of settling between on 6 mile runs at about 9.5 minute miles, so that I'm just easing myself back into that philosophy of keeping running. And we'll see when I get my watch in a couple of days. I may even do an unboxing, so stay tuned.